Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Today we are going to start the reasons and circumstances and why Bhagavad Gita was revealed in the Battle of Kurukshetra by Shri Krishna Bhagwan Ji, and circumstances leading to the advent of Bhagavad Gita. As you all must be knowing, there are four yugas: Satyug, followed by Treta Yuga, and after that Dwapar Yuga, and after that the Kali Yuga. Towards the end of Dwapar Yuga, the whole scene occurred, what we are going to describe right now, what we are going to talk right now. During the Dwapar Yuga, there was a dynasty ruling Hastinapur called Bharat dynasty. And one of the very competitive, very competent and brave king was King Shantanu. King Shantanu married uh, Devi or goddess Ganga. Now, goddess Ganga married Shantanu with a condition that he will not stop her from doing whatever she wants to do. So it so happened during the marriage, she gave birth to boys, and every time the child was offered to Ganga River, it was drowned over there for some reason or the other, because Ganga herself wanted her. The goddess Ganga wanted that. When seventh child was born, and goddess Ganga offered the same thing to Ganga River, Shantanu then held the hands of goddess Ganga. No, you're not going to do it this way. So that was not the condition of the marriage. So she went away. But after some time, she changed her mind and she gave the seventh child to Shantanu, but she went away. She eloped. And this child, which was born, the seventh one, his name was Devavrata, and later on he was known as Bhishma. So Shantanu was alone once again. With passage of time, during one of his hunting courses, when he went for a hunting, he came across a very beautiful girl named Satyavati. She was the daughter of a chief of a fisherman tribe, and he fell in love with her and wanted to marry her. So he approached the chief of the fishermen and asked for her hand. And the chief of the fishermen then made a condition that whatever child was born, whatever son was born to Satyavati, he will become the king after the death of Shantanu, thereby ignoring Bhishma or Devavrat, who was already there with him and was the child of his earlier wife, goddess Ganga. Bhishma is also known as Ganga Putra, Bhishma. So he did not agree to this. To this, he came to know, Devavrat or Bhishma came to know of this condition. So what he did, he went to the chief of the fisherman tribe and he made a vow before him that he will not become the king after the death of his father Shantanu. And not only that, he also said he will never marry the rest of his life, or what we call, he took the vow of celibacy. And with these two vows, these two conditions, he brought Satyavati from the chief of the fishermen to his father. He brought her back to the palace of King Shantanu, and King Shantanu then married Satyavati. Now, Satyavati, the child of the chief of the fishermen, already had one child from a rishi, Rishi Prashar, and his name was the famous Vyasji, the Guru Vyasji, who wrote all the Vedas. He was already there. So Satyavati was then married to King Shantanu, second marriage. And out of them, they had two children, two sons, and their name was Chitran Ganga and Vichitra Virva. I repeat, Chitran Gada and Vichitrava Virva. These two sons were born from the marriage of Satyavati to King Shantanu. After some time, King Shantanu died. So the elder son, Chitran Gada, he became the king. He ruled for some time, but he also died very soon. And that left Vichitra Virva to become the king and was supported and cared by Bhishma, Pitama, or Gangaputra Bhishma, supported by him under the guidance of Mother Satyavati. So Vichitra Virva was the king. Now he was not a very healthy person. Physically, he was not very healthy, and also maybe he was not also good looking, and not many people, girls of that time, they wanted to marry him. So during that time, what happened? There was a king Kasi. He held a swayamambar. He held a swayamambar of his three daughters, but regretfully, the invitation was not sent to the royal family of this Shantanu's child, Vichitra Virva, where Satyavati was also there, and Devavrata Bhishma Pitama was also there. So what Bhishma did that he gate crashed into the Swayamvar. He defeated everybody over there, and he sort of kidnapped the three daughters, Ambalika, and Ambika. These three daughters of King Kasi were kidnapped by Bhishma and brought to the palace, and offer was made to them to marry Vichitra Virva, who was the ruler of the Shantanu dynasty of the Hastinapur. Of these three sisters, Amba refused to marry. She refused to marry Vichitra Virva because she loved somebody else. But Ambika and Ambalika, they agreed to marry. Now, after some times, Amba, when she approached her lover to marry, her lover refused to marry Amba for some reason or other, and she came to Bhishma Pitama to marry her. But Bhishma Pitama or Devvrat, he said, I have taken a vow that I will never marry in my life. So to this, Amba did not like, and she cursed him that she would be the cause of her death. And this is how the Shikandani, the daughter of Drupad, if you know the story of Mahabharata, she was born in the next life. This Amba was born as Shikandani, the daughter of Drupada, and was the reason for the death of Bhishma. Anyway, that will be later on in Mahabharata. So coming back to it, Ambika and Ambalika were married to Vichitra Virva, the king. Now, Vichitra Virva also did not live long. He died very young. He did not have any child from these two sisters, Ambika and Ambalika. So Ambika and Ambalika were widows without a child. So in the kingdom, there was no male child. Inheritance was not there who could rule Hastinapur. So what the mother Satyavati, the wife of King Shantanu, and the mother of dead King Chitranganga and later on Vichitravirva. So this mother Satyavati, who already had another son, Guru Ved Vyasji, she approached him to have the children from Ambika and Ambalika. So there was a custom during those times whenever the ladies did not have any child from their husband, or the widows who did not have the children because of some reason or other, they could approach another qualified person to have children. And there was a system over there at that time that they did not see each other physically. They could not see each other, but somehow or the other, I mean, I don't want to go into the details. So the children were born. So then Ambika and Ambalika, they both had children from Satyavati's elder son, Ved Vyasji. Ambika gave birth to Dhritarashtra, and Ambalika gave birth to Pandu or Pandav. And but when they approached, when both Ambika and Ambalika approached Ved Vyasji in a secluded room, Ambika became very scared and she closed her eyes, and therefore Dhritarashtra was born blind. And Ambalika, when she approached the room where Ved Vyasji was there in the secluded room, when she approached, she was in fear, lot of fear. So Pandu was born and he was sort of a very pale person, no, not very a brave or very strong person. He had what is called jaundice or something at the most of the time. So therefore, Satyavati tried once again, and then she sent uh, one of the maids to Ved Vyasji to have a healthy child. And the maid gave birth to a very healthy and very intelligent and very knowledgeable male child named Vidur. And he later became the prime minister of the Kuru family and the Pandu family later on. So Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur, they were born to Ambika, Ambalika, and their maid servant. After giving birth to these three male child, both Ambika, Ambalika, and the maid and the Satyavati, the mother, they all went to the forest forever, and they never came back to the city Hastinapur, and they sort of took over what you call meditation for the rest of their life. So now the story starts with Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, the sister of Shakuni, the crooked Shakuni of Gandhar. Both Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they had 100 son and one daughter. The eldest son of Dhritarashtra was named as Duryodhan, and the second child, son, was named as Dushasan. They were very wicked people and always in envy with the Pandav children. Now, Kunti had three children, Yudhishthir, Bhim, and Arjun, and Pandu had married another lady also named Madri. And from Madri, Pandu had twins, Nakul and Sahadev. So Pandu had five children in total, three from Kunti and two from Madri. So these five brothers were Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. Nakul and Sahadev were twins, to repeat, and they were the sons of Madri, fathered by Pandu. Right from the childhood, the rivalry was there between the 100 brothers of Dhritarashtra and the five brothers of Pandu as to who will take over the ruling of Hastinapur's kingdom. Duryodhan, as we said, was very wicked, and he made with his father a lot of attempts to finish off, to kill the Pandu brothers. But somehow it never succeeded. They never succeeded. Now the turning point was that they had grown up now, and the time had come that who would rule Hastinapur. It was presently being ruled by Dhritarashtra, who was blind, and the law and the constitution of the Hastinapur did not allow a blind person to rule Hastinapur. So this was made clear by the Prime Minister Vidur, and he was very learned, and he knew all the constitutions of Hastinapur. So Pandu became the king, but he being weak, he went to the forests, and Dhritarashtra was made the caretaker king. Now, with passage of time, Dhritarashtra wanted his son Duryodhan to be the king. As Yudhishthir was the elder of even Duryodhan. So rivalries took place, fights took place, quarrels took place. A lot of wicked things happened. And because the five brothers did not have their father, so they were on the receiving side. अधर्म था, उनके साथ अधर्म हो रहा था. But they had Krishna on their side. That was the thing. And a few things happened where Kauros tried to kill or bring damage to Pandavas. The first one was the Lakshagraha event, a palace made of luck and other things which could be easily burnt. So somehow or the other, the Pandavas were made to live over there for some time, along with the Mother Kunti. But Vidur saved them. Vidur saved them, and they did not die in the fire that was took place in the Lakshagraha. So this was one incident. Then during this time, then they went to the forest after the Lakshagraha. The whole Hastinapur thought that the Pandavas brothers and Kunti had died in that fire, but they actually through the tunnel went to the forests. And during the time when they were in the forest, a Swayamvar took place, and Arjun won the Swayamvar because there was a game to hit the arrow on the eye of the fish, which was hung over the head, and Arjun was to hit the eye of the fish by looking at the reflection on the oil, which was below the eye, fish. And he won the Swayamvar, and that was the name how Draupadi came into the life of the Pandav brothers. And somehow or the other, Kunti, without looking as to what Arjun had won, she said, whatever you have won, you distributed among the five of you brothers. So this is how Draupadi became the wife of all the five Pandavas. So Draupadi became part and parcel of the Pandav brothers. And then after some time, they all Pandavas came back to Hastinapur, where Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra and their 100 brothers and all, Bhishma Pitama, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, they were all living, even Vidur. And they made their claim. So it was decided by Dhritarashtra, because the things were becoming very hot for him to stay on his seat, that the Pandavas be given a place in the forest, and they could develop that forest into their own kingdom. And this forest was inhabited by snakes. Anyway, with their uh, hard work, they converted this forest area into a beautiful city called Indraprastha, and they built a beautiful palace also. And the story goes like this, and the facts goes like this, that when the palace was built, which was a unique thing in the world, the Pandavas invited the Kauravas, where Duryodhana was also there, and he was astonished as to how these people could build such a beautiful palace in the kingdom which was full of forests and snakes. And during this time also, Duryodhana was insulted. The story goes like this, that he could not recognize a certain portion of the palace as water or a lake within what you call a pool, and he stepped into it, whereas it was not a pool, it was simply ground only of marbles. But when the actual pool came, he thought that it's just another a floor full of marbles. He stepped into it and he drowned into it. And all the brothers, including Draupadi, they all laughed. And there was a sarcastic remark by Draupadi, Andhe ka putra andha, meaning a blind man's son is also a blind, meaning Duryodhana is a blind person. He could not recognize that it was a pool of water and he had to drown on it. Why did he step into it? So that was an insult Duryodhana could not tolerate. So he decided to take revenge, and he invited the Pandav brothers to a dice game or gambling game or shatranj game with the help of his mama or maternal uncle Shakuni. They all defeated in the dice game, and Pandavas lost everything. They lost their kingdom, they lost their wealth, everything they lost. And somehow or the other, Dhritarashtra intervened, and then he gave back their kingdom and he gave back everything. But no, it was not acceptable to Duryodhana, and he invited them once again, second time. And this time again, Yudhishthir and Pandav, they lost everything. And they even lost Draupadi, because she was put on the game as whoever wins the game will take Draupadi. So Yudhishthir and Pandav, they lost Draupadi also, and Dushasan, as we must be knowing, he tried to disrobe. He does try to disrobe in the presence of everybody, Draupadi, and Krishna Bhavanji then came to the rescue when she surrendered. So that was the insult or the turning point the Pandavas could not tolerate. Nobody in the audience in the palace could tolerate that, but nobody could speak anything because that was the situation at that time. So this was another reason why the things went from bad to worse. And as a result of this loss in the dice game, in the Shatranj game, the Pandavas were relinquished to a forest for 13 years. And the last year had to be the exile. They should not be recognized. So for 12 years, they remained in the forest, and in the 13th year, they remained in disguise in one of the king's palace, and they took up various roles in that. It was King Virat, and they took up various roles of duties over there. Anyway, those 13 years also came to an end, and then they came back to Hastinapur and made their claim for Indraprastha and other places so that they can start their life once again. So this, even Krishna Bhagavanji made an attempt before Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra, but he went there as an ambassador on behalf of the Pandavas. But again, Duryodhan refused. He said he will not give a tip of the needle to Pandavas or any part of the kingdom. So the war was inevitable. So it was decided that the war should take place. So there was a war between Pandavas and the Kauravas. And the place chosen by Krishna Bhagwanji was Kurukshetra, because Kurukshetra had the vast area and also was famous that it was not a peaceful place, that the people residing over there were very corrupt and they were very ill-mannered. So this is what Krishna Bhagwanji wanted, so that the brothers, the cousin families, they should not unite and refuse to fight, and they come to some terms, etc. They could come to some negotiations. Krishna Bhagwanji did not want that, because he had taken the birth, or he had come to the planet to do away with all the ill people from this planet. Krishna Bhagwanji had taken birth for three main reasons. The first one was to help the people who were following the dharma. And the second one was to relinquish all those people who were wicked. And the third one was to re-establish dharma or bhakti on the planet. So Krishna Bhagwanji wanted the war to take place so that the dharma could be re-established and the wicked people could be removed with their death from this planet Earth. So war took place over there. And on the day when the war was to start, Krishna Bhagwanji was the charioteer of Arjun's chariot, or the Rath. And after seeing the people on the opposite side, on his enemy side, Arjun refused to fight. He said, what use it is by killing my grandfather or fathers or people with whom I have grown up, my brothers and cousins. If I kill them, what use will be the kingdom? I do not want to fight after killing them and win a kingdom which is filled with the bloodshed. And there will be a lot of widows, and there will be unwanted children after that. So for this reason, he sort of refused to fight and set aside his famous bow and arrow called Gandiv. And then, to change his mind, to change the mind of Arjun, Krishna Bhagwanji gave him the Gyan of Bhagavad Gita to turn his mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the reason and the circumstances and the events which took place for revealing Bhagavad Gita. And the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and which we shall be doing it shlok by shlok. There are 700 shloks which Bhagwanji spoke in a minute, in 45 to 50 minutes in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, to change the mind of Arjun so that he can fight. He can know what is the duty of a Kshatriya. So he gave a lot of gyan, and we will be understanding those things. So ladies and gentlemen, during this time, you may be knowing Balram ji was not part and parcel of this war. He was not in favor of this battle, and he had gone to pilgrimage for during this 18 days of war which took place. And just because Arjun had got sentimental, Krishna Bhagwanji gave him gyan. Okay, what he was doing is not the correct thing. I hope that answers the today's question and the purpose for which we are holding this session. That is why Gita was revealed by Krishna Bhagwanji to Arjun. What are the circumstances and events which led to that? And any questions or answers, please put it up in the group, and we shall be happy to answer those questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.